As we love our families, boundaries are important.
Psychotherapist Terri Cole has a new book, How to Be a Boundary Boss, and she's here to explain why boundaries are a good idea and where we can start. Thanks for being with us, Terri.
Well, thanks for having me, Scott and Kara.
I was reading up on you. You were a former talent agent to actors and supermodels. Is that what made you go into therapy? I know, because I'm one of those I'm one of those frustrated actors.
I would say that it's not exactly a hotbed of mental health, but really that's not what, it didn't drive me to become a therapist. I always was interested.
So, first of all, what is a boundary? Just so people can understand that we even have the right to make them.
Well, the way that I describe it, there's two ways. It's basically letting the people in your life know what's okay with you and what's not okay with you. That's the most simple way of looking at it. But the way that I teach it, it's that you must know your preferences, your desires, your limits, and your deal breakers, like your non-negotiables, and have the ability to communicate them when you so choose.
What is the best way to start? Because I know Kara and we do 17,000 public appearances a year. We don't want to say no. And I sometimes get, angry at myself for exhausting myself.
Yeah. Well, Scott, that's a great point, because the truth is where we usually start is looking at where are we saying yes when we want to say no. And instead of the insta yes, I teach that we're just going to buy time in the beginning. So you don't have to say no right away, but just don't say yes right away. So you'll have like 3 or 4 phrases that I would give you that when anyone asks you to do anything, you would say, hey, I need to check with my producer, my roommate, my wife, my husband, whoever, right? Like, just don't give the insta reactionary yes, because then you're overcommitting yourself. And it's so much easier to go back and say no, or I can't, or I don't have the time, or I don't have the bandwidth when you haven't already said yes.
Yeah. And, you talk about saying no or putting a boundary without any guilt. If we're just doing something only because of guilt or obligation, chances are it's because we needed to put a boundary up, right?
Well, here's the thing. Many of us were raised and praised for being self-abandoning codependents, basically, always putting the wants and needs and feelings of others above our own, because we were taught that that was nice. But what ends up happening is that you end up bitter, right? Scott was saying he was mad at himself, but a lot of times we are mad at the other people for asking. Like, how entitled is Betty asking me to do all these things? When once you actually can say no, we don't get so offended or mad at what people are asking of us, because we don't feel victimized by that.
What does it mean to talk true?
Yeah, what does talk true mean?
Well, I think a lot of us, we haven't been taught any of these things. The reason I wrote a book, and I've been teaching this for many years, is because literally not only did we not learn it, but we learned, like, we got corrupted information about boundaries and whether they're good or whether they're bad, or if you have boundaries, that means you're mean or you're rejecting people, which none of those things are true. So to talk true means knowing how you feel and having the ability to communicate that. It means not saying yes when you want to say no, unless you mindfully decide to compromise. Or listen, in life, right, we have relationships, we have families. Clearly, we're still going to be doing some things that we'd rather not be doing, because that's called being in relationships. But not if it's because you're afraid to say no or you're afraid to feel guilty. That is not talking true. So being able to say what the truth is for you. But I think there's confusion about whose truth is whose. Like, you have some people, and maybe you guys have had this, they're like, well, you can count on me to tell you the truth. But they're really using the truth as like a big stick to beat you with, like, I don't like your hair, or why did you paint your house that color, as opposed to your truth, right? Like what is my side of the street and what is your side of the street? So that's the kind of truth I'm talking about, the things that are on your side of the street.
Excellent.
So the book is very instructive, and thank you for being with us. So if you're someone who's feeling overwhelmed or drained, this is a book for you.
Indeed.